Today, we're talking about the mentality of a winner. There are certain mentalities that leave us poor. There are certain mentalities that leave us broke. We can't be doing the same thing we did 10 years ago and expect to be in business. Be consistent at what you do. Jack of all trades does not work. You need to know yourself, then know your enemy. You do not look at what you do from your view. Look at it from the view of the customer. The 21st century business is that business built on customer relationship.
I'm a communications officer for LBS, but I'm actually a broadcaster by profession. When I first heard about the masterclass, I'm a person who naturally loves to learn. Acquiring knowledge is actually one of my hobbies, as strange as it may sound. When you hear the term masterclass, you think, I'm going to be able to master something. I hope at least to be able to master my thoughts on business, strategy, planning, and possibly the mindset of a winner.
My name is Adedoku Ndiemi. I'm a teacher by profession. My passion is in education. I heard about Hexavia on the radio. I find some of the concepts that they come up with very interesting and all. And that was the reason why I came here. It's more about building a brand. That's what this is about, and I'm hoping I'll be able to learn new ways and techniques to achieve that goal.
The law of sacrifice is the law that makes us become average. The lack of that law makes us become average because people kill long-term goals because of short-term rewards. We know what to do, but we're not going to do it because it's uneasy. It's that uneasiness that is the same thing why you're where you are. It's a fundamental law of life. From Abraham to Jesus to Illuminati, what do they all have in common? They all sacrifice. Matter of fact, I should put a bunny there too. They all sacrifice. To go far, you have to give up something. It's a case of climbing a ladder. This is how business is. You can't climb a ladder with two things in your hand. You need to sacrifice. Certain people, you start to grow, but you don't want to give power to other people. We grew so much in recent, I had to give a pin to an account to someone that, that's the exact kind of sacrifice because you need to make such sacrifices to go up. It's powerful. You need to learn to make sacrifices. Yeah, I don't know if anyone wants to say something. Next slide, please. The law of risk. Now, this is especially important to entrepreneurs here. Entrepreneurship in business. Business Studies has the best definition for, Business Studies JSS3 has the best definition of entrepreneur I've ever seen. You can't remember the definition? Entrepreneurship can be defined as a risk taker. Remember? That's what they told us in primary school, secondary school. And that's really what it is. If you're someone who likes comfort, don't go into business. Simple and plain. Business is not meant for people who like comfort. There are two sets of people in this world. People who seek for freedom and people who seek for security. Remember those words. There are three sets of people in the corporate world. People who seek for freedom and the other who seek for security. The people who seek for security get jobs. They enter their employees. I can always say that the tie is such a metaphor for slavery, like, the chain. Is the fact that people who seek for security, that's why it's called job security, first of all. Then the other set of people are people who are not afraid to fly. They like freedom. Think about it. The safest place to be in, actually, if you think about it, is actually the jail. Jail is safe. That's why the world, the country, a city shakes when there's a jailbreak more than when there's a bank robbery. It's easier to rob a bank than to break a jail. That's how safe it is. But that's the exact kind of thing that happens. The same security, the same safety you like, the same security you like, the same security that stops your freedom. So if you decide to go into business, understand this mentality. You either win or you lose. Simple. That's why I realize that the greatest entrepreneurs are people who, that's why even sometimes you realize that even in America, those businessmen are actually very strong gamblers. That's why Premiership and all these things are powerful platforms. That's why they play. If you look at the rich man's game and the poor man's game, they're always different. The rich man's game is based on gamble. You watch them, you see how much those guys play to go to Dubai to watch a Formula One race or a horse race. Or you see how much they put even as big as, even in Nigeria, if you know how much of gamble goes in Polo Club for horses. They're not afraid to lose. They're not afraid to lose. Steve Jobs at some point gambled with the whole fate of Apple. So you don't go into business. If you lose, you fall down, you dust your feet, you move again. By the time you'd have lost 3 times, you wouldn't have failed. You'd have failed forward. People are too afraid. In life, that's why in all the 12 disciples, the most powerful disciple in the Bible, in the 12, is Peter. Peter and Paul shook the New Testament more than anyone else, and maybe John. Peter, you know why? Peter was the greatest risk taker in 12 of them. 11 is the only guy that would be in the boat when Jesus walks on water. He will jump into the water to try to walk on water. That's risk. Oprah Winfrey asked Jay-Z on Oprah Winfrey show, what have you learned to fly? In rap, they use terms, slangs. They say you're fly. It means that you're very, when they say you're fly, like you're very correct, sort of like, how did you become successful? How you fly? He says, I learned to fly by not being afraid to jump off the sky. Rhyme, right? Sky fly, but it's powerful. And that's how eagles learn to fly. Eagles learn to fly by, when an offspring is born, a little eagle, the mom takes the eagle to a top height, a high cliff, and it drops the eagle. Do you know sometimes that eagle actually dies? But the exact eagle that would not die, that would learn to fly, is the exact eagle that becomes an eagle. That's why eagles are powerful. It's risk-taking. It's risk-taking. If at 24, 23, your mates are writing aptitude tests and you decide to start your business at 22, 23, it's a risk. It's not the safest, not the same thing to do. Nobody would ever second that. For years, for months and years, I'll not talk to my dad because every time he calls me, he's telling me to send my CV to one uncle or not because it doesn't make any logical sense what you're doing. But maybe now you'd call you and say, I read your article on this, I saw you on TV, I saw you. But the funny thing is the fact that you take risk. If you lose, you're a failure. If you win, you'll be called a success story. But then, if you're going to succeed, then you should be ready to be called a failure. On the last class, somebody said something very arrogant. They said, look, if you're here and we're talking about entrepreneurship and a full-time job, please don't be talking with us. That's what he said. It was the fact that people who fundamentally, that's a very arrogant thing to say. But the funny thing about it is the fact that people who succeed most are people who have, this is also in life, people who don't have plan Bs succeed the most. One of the greatest explorers that's walked the face of this earth is called Hernando Cortez. Has anyone heard of Hernando Cortez? Powerful mind. He found, in America, in the 16th, 17th, 18th century, they conquered territories. That's what they did. Christopher Columbus and all these guys. Cortez found a major part of Mexico, Spain, and all these places. You know what he would do? You know how they used to conquer territories. So he would go with his armies. They would go to an island with their ships. He would laugh with them. He was a very charismatic guy. In the night when they get to those places, because most of the time blood will be spilled to conquer territory. You're going to come to barbarians' territory and expect to tell them all to go up. Most of the time it's by superior contest. And the same thing they did to Nigeria. If you know the history of the fall of the great Benin Kingdom and how the British penetrated into modern-day Nigeria, it was bloody. It was bloody. That's what gave birth to the Queen Idia Mask. Competitive complexity. Know your country. Know the history of your country. They tell us the history of Nigeria from 1960s. Deeper than that. Started in 1814. If you know the story behind the Festac Mask, you know that Festac, I'm saying, you understand the story I'm telling you, it was bloody. It was bloody. It was an invasion by British, by colonials, by Christians. It was dirty, it was bloody, but you see the funny thing about it is, back to Cortez. Cortez would laugh with his team because they're going to invade territories, blood would be spilled. They were all afraid. He would see the fear in them. He would act like he didn't see the fear. At night, while everyone's asleep, he would go back to the bank of the river. He would drill holes in all of those ships. He would sink the whole ship. Then the next morning, all the ships would be down. You now see that human beings are ruthless. because it's a ride or die at that point. There's no way. You know, when there's a ship, you'd fight to the point where you feel like you might give up, you jump back and you head back home. How do you head back home when there are no ships? That's how powerful it is. When you have a full-time job and you're doing business by the side, you might never know how powerful what you're doing is to. You decide to, or no, matter of fact, you lose your job. Not even you left your job, you lose your job. You know, that at that point you now see the facts. That's why one of the most powerful songs I've ever heard is the Puff Daddy and Mace song, one old song. I don't even remember. It says, "Don't push me because I'm close to the edge. I'm trying not to lose my head." Like, how do you fight with someone who is not afraid to lose? You know, like somebody would say that the worst people to fight with is the area boy. How do you fight with someone that before you break a bottle in his head, before he breaks his own head, if he can break the bottle in his head, do you want to wait to see how your... That's why the rattlesnake is one of those powerful snakes. You know what the rattlesnake does? When you corner the rattlesnake, when he's angry, when the rattlesnake is angry, it rattles, it bites itself with its own venom so it can gain enough anger to bite you. That's what the area boys got the concept from. Risk-taking, powerful. Ships are safe at bay. The best place to park a ship is at bay, close to the bank. But then again, that's not what ships are meant for. We're not meant to, we're not here on this earth to be safe. The exact people I want to work with as a team or as a client are those guys who are not afraid to fail. Ships are safe at bay, but that's not where ships were made. If you know the fundamentals biologically of you coming here, out of how many million spermatozoa that was released during fertilization, you're the only one that survived. Do you know what that means? You're naturally a ride or die kind of person. You come to world, it boxes you in, so you're so afraid. We need to be risk takers. That's what if you check the dictionary, entrepreneurship is risk taking. So next slide, please. So the law, we spoke about a lot of the laws. We spoke about purpose, vision, knowledge, branding, value, character, sacrifice, innovation, and technology. Innovation is very related to technology, to creativity. Innovation and creativity are actually almost the same words. People always ask what's the difference between creativity and innovation. You can be creative and still be poor, simple and plain. How you apply creativity determines your success. The art of applying creativity into something that makes sense is called innovation. So innovation can be defined as the application of creativity. You can be creative and everybody says you're creative. That's where it ends. Steve Jobs was not creative. Steve Jobs is innovative. He takes creativity and turns it into a product you can touch. I touch. Product you can touch.